Hey guys, we're going to look at another dinosaur playset. This is the Marx Giant Prehistoric Mountain Playset from 1977, and it's number 4304. As we look at the box, I had to move the camera way back because this box is 25 inches tall. It's pretty huge. Now, this version of the Prehistoric Mountain is a lot like, it's got the same mold pieces for the mountain and all that the original Marx Prehistoric Mountain from 1975 had. Now, that original one, the mountain pieces were in yellow and brown. And this one, it's in gray. The mountain pieces are gray. And it has the same 5 pieces. I'll show you that when I get to the components, that comprise the mountain formation. But Marx had been sold from Quaker Oats to Dunbee-Combex, a British company, by this time. Now, originally, the older Marx Prehistoric Mountain from 1975, 2 years earlier, that was when Marx was still owned by Quaker Oats. So this Dunbee-Combex company just made their version of it, like in different color plastic and all. But they cut down on the components. And I'll get into that too. But first, let's look at this box. There's the front, of course. It's a photo. And it's got this illustration in the foreground here of a T-Rex. And this box, looks a little rough. And to most people, they might think it's really rough, but this is a fairly scarce playset. It's much more scarce than the 1975 Prehistoric Mountain set, and that one's even scarce these days. This one is far more scarce than that. So just to find an original box of this size from that far back for a scarce set is tough. So I'm very glad to have this. It's all intact. It just has a lot of wear. Now, here is the box top, and it gives some contents here. 2 mountains, 2 connecting bridges, log and land. And it doesn't mention about the river section that connects the 2 mountains there. 4 mountain cave levels, cavemen and prehistoric animals, mountain terrain poly play sheet. All right, this does not tell how many cavemen and prehistoric animals. And there is some argument about that, and I'll get into that too. But let's look at this price sticker. There's an original price sticker. Get this thing to focus. It's always a battle. Child World, our low price, $14.88. All right, now we had a Child World in Knoxville, Tennessee. I remember seeing that quite a bit. I never went in it, I don't think, but it was just kind of like a Toys R Us. I guess, I don't know if it was regional or nationwide or what. Here's the side panel. It's like a lithograph drawing of the setup. Same contents list, and then it has the T-Rex in the foreground there, lording over everything. And here's the back. And it's got tape pulls and all that, but as tough as this thing is to find, I'm super glad just to have this. Trust me. Where are you going to find another one? These things never come up on eBay. I mean, I try to keep an eye on this stuff. I bought this like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, probably. And it's the only one I had ever seen on eBay, and I don't remember seeing one of this type since. Now, they have the 2 earlier mountain sets, the one from 1974, the 1 million BC mountain set. It doesn't have a play mat or anything, but it was back when Quaker Oats owned Marx. And then the better one, the 1975 version called Marx Prehistoric Mountain. You see those come up occasionally, and mostly you just see parts. Like sometimes you'll just see parts of the mountain formation. You very seldom ever see all 5 pieces of the mountain formation. And when you do, those mountain formations alone cost as much as a lot of vintage play sets. You know, $200 or $300 just for the mountain sections. All right, let's get this up here closer. See what it says there. 1977, Lewis Marx and Company, Incorporated, Glendale, West Virginia. Yeah, that Glendale plant was in operation, I think, until 1980. Through all the times that Marx changed hands, you know, in the 70s. And after the Dunbee-Combex went bankrupt in like around 1980, I think, they closed down that Glendale plant because that was all of original Marx. You know, there in the 90s there was a Marx Toys Incorporated after the Marx assets were bought out from that bankruptcy in 1980 by American Plastics, and they had different companies that they sent the molds out to and all that. A lot of after Marx product from that. But in the 90s, an offshoot of that called Marx Toys Incorporated, based out of Miami. Most people call it Marx of Miami. Most collectors that know about it, you know, just as a common name. They came out with a Flintstones updated playset in, I think, 91, which is really cool. I've got it. I'll show it in a video at some point. But anyway, here's the side panel. And we'll take a look at the bottom of it. I don't think anything. No, it just has information about the box maker, you know. That's packaging. Okay. So there is a good look at the box. And because Marx had good product, even after they were bought out by Dunbee-Combex, they still had enough good quality control and good quality product that they had these thick corrugated cardboard boxes. And that's the only way these things survived. I mean, when in 1987, there were some of the molds in the possession of the Superior Company, and they made a mountain set just using this one large mountain here. I've got it. I made a video on it. If you want to look that up, it's on my Dinosaur Playsets playlist, and just check my channel page. But anyway, they had a box for this big mountain piece and the other contents made out of thin cardboard, and those are almost impossible to find. I don't even have a box for that playset. That's about the only original Dinosaur playset that I don't have an original box for, because, you know, they were just made of thin cardboard and they just got chewed up through the years just by normal handling. But these original Marx boxes, they're tough, and that's the reason they survived all this time. Now I'm going to pause this and get the contents up here on the table so we can see what came in this thing. Okay, we've got the components that came in the set, and some of these, there's some question as to whether or not they actually came in the set. So first of all, let's look at the paperwork. Now, I bought this set from an eBay seller several years ago, and it did not come with any paperwork. But my other Marx Prehistoric Mountain set came with all the paperwork. And I'm going to put a link in the description for this video for that original Marx Prehistoric Mountain, and you can watch that video if you want to and compare. All right, now this is the sheet that came with my original one, and you notice it says Division of the Quaker Oats Company. In 1975, when the original Marx Prehistoric Mountain came out, Marx was owned by Quaker Oats. So for this set, I'm certain that they would have included a sheet similar to this that would have had, you know, the instructions about putting the mountain together. Because whereas in most cases instructions really aren't necessary for this, big deal, you stick a palm tree on a palm trunk, you know, or a fern in a vase or whatever. But for these mountain sets, it makes sense to have instructions. I mean, you have to put these together with screws and nuts. And let's see, it even Gives the parts listing there. Now, the parts listing is different from this set. For one thing, this set here, the 1977 set that I'm covering in this video, did not come with 18 cavemen, even though I've got 18 out here. It came with 12. That's because Dunbee-Combex was cutting down. And it says 4 tree assemblies. Now, this particular set came with 2 palm trees with enough, tops for them, and 2 ferns with 2 bases for the ferns. So, now for my 1975 mountain set, I've got the complete tree grouping in that with 4 trees and 4 ferns. So this can be taken either way. In some instances, according to some sources, that 1975 version of the Prehistoric Mountain only came with the half trees and half fern set. In other words, 2 each. But I've got the complete one in mind just because I could, And that's true. That might have been. Now this one, I'm pretty sure it did definitely come with the half sets on the trees and ferns. So there are 2 of each. That's what I've got here. And it could be any 2 of the palm trees and ferns, usually a big one and a small one of the trees. 5 hex nuts, 5 round head screws, ground sheet. That's a playmat. And this version here came with a playmat. I'm going to show you that too. And here's the continuation of the instructions. Here, this, like I said, this came with my 1975 set, not this one, but this set had a similar sheet in it. Not this exact sheet, but very similar. And it might have even added information for the dinosaurs. I'm not sure because I've never seen a picture of the sheet that came with this set. This set is very scarce. There's a lot of confusion about what, some of the original contents. Now this colored booklet here, this definitely came with the 1975 mountain. This is the booklet from my 1975 mountain set. And I show it in detail in that video about the 1975 Prehistoric Mountain. If you want to see, all about on the inside and stuff. Now, here's the back of it. Now, this is important. Lewis Marx and Company Incorporated, a subsidiary of Quaker Oats Company, and then it gives the Stamford, Connecticut address for the Quaker Oats. Now, according to some sources, this 1977 version of this giant prehistoric mountain came with a colored booklet. I tend to refute that. And the reason is because the way Dunbee-Combex was cutting back and trying to save money, on little detail stuff, they would have had to have new versions of this booklet printed up. They could not have used the ones that Quaker Oats put in the 1975 version of this playset, back when Quaker Oats owned it. They would have had to have new booklets printed up saying, probably a subsidiary of Dunbee-Combex, and given a London, England address on the back of it. And also, I don't think Dunbee-Combex used this little illustration here that Quaker used. So they would have had to print up new versions of this book in order to be correct. I mean, they're not going to give branding for an old company. And the way they were cutting back, I don't think they would have done it. Now, the sources that claim that this 77 mountain set, giant prehistoric mountain, came with one of these colored booklets also claim that the colored booklets came in the 1978 playset. I think it was Marx Prehistoric Dinosaurs. Anyway, it was, or Dinosaur Playset, it was number 4208. It's like a downscaled 3398 with the blue and yellow dinosaurs in it. And that same source claims that even that had one of these booklets. And I know that's not the case because I bought one of those sets new. I did a video on that if you want to check it out. It's the Marx Prehistoric Dinosaur Playset number 4208 from 1978. And, I bought it at Big K, I think. It's still got the price sticker from the store on it and the whole deal. And I remember exactly, you know, what was in it. I've still got everything that was in it. I think except two of the clips. As I remember, it came with like 4 clips, and I still had 2 of them. But anyway, it did not come with a booklet. So and that was, you know, Marx was owned by Dunbee-Combex at that time, and they were still cutting back. So I don't think they would have sprung for one of these color booklets for this set. I could be wrong. You know, maybe they did. Maybe, you know, since this is a mountain set and all that, maybe they did have more of these printed up. I mean, I know they didn't make many of these sets, so maybe they had more of them printed up and actually included them. I don't know. And it's barely possible that they put some of the old ones in there from when it was owned by Quaker Oats, but I seriously doubt that. But anyway, there you go. I figure there's about, I don't know, maybe a 30% chance that this set actually had one of these booklets included in it new. A new updated version with the Dunbee-Combex information on the back. But I think that there's more of a chance that they just left that out, and maybe the new version of the sheet, the instruction sheet, had some dino information on it. I don't know. Like I said, I've never seen a picture of it, so I can't tell you. And this one that I bought from the eBay seller, I had to reconstruct parts of it, but most of it was there, the important parts. And you know, it did not have any paperwork with it, so that's another reason that it makes me think that it did not have the booklet. Now you see a lot of used vintage dinosaur playsets without paperwork, but you know, there'd be more of a chance of hanging on to something cool like that colored booklet if it originally came with it, I think. And we'll look at the components real quick here. First of all, let's show the definitely nots and the maybes. Okay, I've got 18 cavemen, 3 full sets of the 6 poses here that came with this set, but this particular set did not come with 18. The 1975 Prehistoric Mountain set came with 18. They cut it down to 12 for this one. They were cutting corners. The way they were cutting corners on pieces and all, that's the reason, another reason why I think they probably didn't have the color booklet included in the new sets. But I've got 18 of them out here, and this set only came with 12. I just have 18 because I can, you know. It's just an extra set, really. Now, here's a big maybe here. The small mole group, these 7 dinos right here in the light gray, the small mole group. Now, a lot of sources claim that this dinosaur set came with 22 dinosaurs and left out the small mole group. But the box shows several of the small mole group animals on it. There's a Dimetrodon. Let's see, there's a Triceratops. Well, that might be the revised mole group Triceratops. But there's a Cynognathus, that little lizard-looking guy there. That's small mole group. Let's see. There's a thick-horn Triceratops on that ledge right there, showing his tail right between that T-Rex jaws. That's small mole group. So, you know, it's showing some of the, there's another Dimetrodon way up high there. Those are from, you know, probably, well, the Dimetrodon's in the revised mole group too, but this definitely, my point is, this definitely shows some small mole group dinos on it. Now, some sources claim that the small mole group was not included in this set. I just went ahead and put a set of color matching small mole group dinos in here anyway because I had them extra, and since it shows it on the box, I'm putting them in there. Now, if it did in fact come with small mole group, there are 29 dinosaurs. If it did not come with small mole group, there are 22 dinosaurs. And we'll look at these now. This is going to be a long video. There's a lot to get through here. This is the revised mole group in the back. PL977 in this, you know, these dinos in the 70s were this heritage plastic, this shiny, waxy looking plastic that didn't show off the details as well as the older plastic. But here's the brown brontosaurus. This is split in half color-wise. The brown sleek T-Rex. There's the brown ankylosaurus, and you can tell it's revised because it's got hatching on the belly. Cross lines there instead of pebble graining. Here is the Dimetrodon from the revised mold group. Here is the Trachodon that stands up better in the mint green. They only had 3 colors for these, man. I mean, the older dinos, you got some real variety of color, and you got marbling sometimes, and you got premium pieces and weird color variations occasionally. This stuff in the 70s is just these colors here up until 1978 when they had that yellow and blue stuff. But anyway, you know, it's mint green, man. I mean, they still look good because they're Marx dinos and they're sculpted really well. This type of plastic just does not show off the details. Here's the Stegosaurus from the revised mold group. Does not show off the details nearly as well as the older plastic with the lead-based paint in it for color pigment and the matte finish. Those are the real Marx dinosaurs for most collectors. Those are the preferred ones. Now here's the second series mold group, PL1083. Here is the woolly mammoth. Still a great piece in any kind of plastic. Big imposing brute. Light gray. Here's the Parasaurolophus. You know, I mean, I don't mean to be too derogatory towards, I still love the dinosaurs. The dinos are still tops, but it's just this plastic is not as good as the older plastic to me. And as I've said in some other videos, if you grew up in the 60s and you had this type of plastic Marx dinos, you probably prefer it. I don't know if you even know about the older stuff. But most collectors prefer the older type plastic with the distinctive smell and the lead-based paint for color pigment and the variety. These newer pieces in the 70s, they just did not have the variety of color or shade. That was a big thing. It's hard to color match some of the old mold groups because they had different shades of colors. And these are all the same, pretty much. I mean, you can color match these pretty easy. Here's the Iguanodon. You know, they color match easy because they're all the same. Smilodon, Styracosaurus. And here is the medium mold group. Here's the Trachodon that doesn't want to stand up well. That's why he was remolded. Leans over to his left. And here is the Hadrosaurus, the waving Hadrosaurus. And these are all in the mint green. That mint green is really a common color. Well, hell, I mean, there's only 3 colors. None of them are uncommon. Allosaurus. It's got the toe sticking out on the side that marks him as medium mold group Allosaurus, as opposed to revised mold group Allosaurus, which did not have the toe sticking out as far. Why they revised that one, I don't know. They already had sculpts for some of these, so it's just easier to change them a little bit, I guess, and stick them in that mold group. This is the medium mold group Ankylosaurus. He's got the one large circle on the one foot. He's got the pebble graining on his underbelly there. So that marks him as a medium mold group Ankylosaurus. Here is the Stegosaurus. One big mold circle. Marks him as a medium mold group Stegosaurus. And Pteranodon. Medium mold group. 6 dinos. Now, if this set did not contain these 7 small mold group figures, PL 755, there's 2 Dimetrodons in this. There's no use in showing it the same. Practically the same minuscule differences, but we won't go into that for this. Plesiosaurus, you get duplicates on that. You get 2 of those. If this set did not have this small mole group, then there's only 22 dinosaurs in this set. If it did contain the small mole group, then there are 29. Just like the 1975 Prehistoric Mountain. Here is the small mole group with the large horns, the Triceratops. Here is the Cynognathus. And the cavemen. I'll go ahead and show this just to be thorough. There are 6 different poses. Now in this set, it definitely only came with 12. But I've got 18 here, so it doesn't matter. It's just extras. Doesn't mean anything. Here is the guy with the stone club and knife. It's kind of like a stone mace. It's like the guy. Let me get this paper here. Force this camera to comply. I've shown this before in my other videos, but you might not have seen those. So. Anyway, these things have great sculpting on them. The cavemen in the older type plastic look even better because it's matte finish and it shows off the details better than this shiny heritage plastic does. There's the guy walking with the club. Here is the rock dropper. Here is the short guy with spear. Here is the rock beater. These 6 poses represent a complete set, a complete mole group of cavemen. I think that was PL746. Mark's number for that. Here's the guy skinning the little animal here, probably something like a rabbit or whatever. And that's all 6 of those. Now, in this set, it came with 12 of them, 2 sets. I've got 3 sets here just for the heck of it, just because I had an extra set. And my other Prehistoric Mountain had 18, so that's what I've got here. Now let's look at these terrain sections. Here's the big mountain piece. This thing is pretty imposing. It's got this hole here at the top. That's where the land bridge hooks in there, and then it connects to the other one. And it just got all these caves. Now here's the 3 holes that you put the screws and nuts in. And here are the different cave levels on the back of it here. This thing is 19.5 inches tall. I mean, it's massive to a kid, you know, compared to most playsets. The Marx tagline back in the 70s is Marx goes vertical with his playsets, and it had other genre of playsets that had these mountain sections, not these particular mountain sections, but other similar mountain sections in them. Here are a couple of holes here for this smaller mountain, and the rock bridge hooks into that top hole right there. And it's got little ledges, you know, all throughout here, and a little cave down here that the guys can go in. And here's the rock bridge that hooks on top of those mountains there. Here is the river section that you use the screws and nuts with to attach them. There's the 5 holes for that. It's got an extra hole up here. I don't know. I mean, it really doesn't hook to anything in this playset. And here is the footbridge. It's got a little tab right here that it just lays on top. You know, it goes down into a hole after you get it set up. This hole right here, as a matter of fact. And this goes like that, and then it's hooked to the bigger mountain over here. Those are real hard pieces to find. Usually when you find, you know, these parts of these pieces, some of them are missing. Usually it's that footbridge. Sometimes the rod bridge is missing. Sometimes even the part that connects everything's missing, that river section. And here is the play mat. It's the same play mat that came with the 1975 Prehistoric Mountain set. And here are the nuts and screws. This is one of the nuts here. Just a little nut and screw that you don't need a screwdriver or anything. You just twist them in there, twist the nut on the screw once you get it in place. And it holds really well. I mean, these things are sturdy, man. Really sturdy. No wonder they've held up through all these years. So I'm going to pause the video now and set all this up. Well, here we go finally. Got it all set up. Had to move the camera way back because this thing is huge, man. Like I said, that big mountain is 19.5 inches tall. I've got that caveman up there on top of the very tip of it, so try to get it all into the shot. Of course, I'm going to take the camera off here in a second and let you get the old pteranodon's eye view of everything, but first I'll explain some of the major areas of conflict here. Basically, we got these duckbills and the brontosaurus are hanging out in the water. You know, you can't submerge them. You just put them on the water and you just pretend as a kid. But anyway, the brontosaurus there is eating, and then this big brown sleek T-Rex comes out of the edge of the woods or whatever, and he's going after the bronto. And there's a couple of plesiosaurus eating, and hadrosaurus, stegosaurus here on the edge eating. I mean, that's all he did was eat and kill each other. And you know, some on the periphery there, and some dimetrodons up on the water's edge, and there's the sphenacodon, small mole group, as in the picture, which may or may not have been in this set. I don't know, but I got them just in case. You know, it's better to have extra stuff than not enough. And a couple of triceratops there in the foliage, and a megatherium, which I still can't get over putting a megatherium in with the dinos, but you know, it's a dinosaur playset, man. It's what kids did back in the day. It's the way you set the playset up. So they're all alive at the same time, okay? And the cavemen, of course, too. And a couple of Allosaurus are menacing this caveman who's come out of that little cave, and he's probably going to regret that. Here's a Smilodon up top here, and he's going to come in conflict with that little guy. Cynognathus up there, going to get rock dropped on him. Woolly mammoth coming around the edge. A couple of ankylosaurs, another stegosaurus. You got this rock dropper way up here. He's just going to fling one. I mean, he don't care. It's going to hit something. It might hit his buddy there. Who knows? Here's this rock dropper here on this footbridge, which looks really cool. I love that little footbridge they include in these sets. Anyway, he's going to try to bean that Cynognathus, who's not really bothering anybody. They ought to focus their attention on the Smilodon, and that's the thing that's going to eat them up. But they're cavemen, you know. Not too bright. But anyway, here's these three dudes walking along the bridge there as backup, and some of the crouching guys back in the cave section. I'll show you that when the camera takes wing. And up top here, a pteranodon, you know, lit on this very top up here, and he's going to catch some hell from those cavemen. And hey, that's the overview. Here is the part where the old pteranodon's eye view comes in, like we always do on this channel. And we'll take a look at this. You can see through that little cave opening there. It's got a little campfire on the playmat, and when you set the mountains up on top of the playmat, you end up with this little campfire-like setting. Let me see if I can. It's hard to do this because it's hard to get to it, but I'll try to show the inside of it here. The pteranodon's flying low, and there's the guys there cleaning animals, getting ready to cook them on the fire, I guess. And pteranodon flies back out, and we see the Various and sundry prehistoric animals getting ready to do their thing. Duckbills in the river. Styracosaurus, Struthiomimus, moss chops. Here's these dudes back here. Cave levels. You know, a kid would have a ball with this, man. I never had the, well, you know, I mean, when these came out, I was too old to be like playing with toys, but I would have certainly bought them as a collector if I'd have had sense enough to spend my money on this stuff back then instead of, you know, teenager crap, which all went by the wayside, and now nothing to show for that. I like partying and cars and crap like that. But anyway, here's this scene on the top here with the cavemen getting ready to layeth the smacketh down on that pteranodon. And we'll go down the smaller mountainside there and check out all that potential strife and bloodshed. And in the foreground, we've got the Stegosaurus chomping on a fern. And yeah, you got 2 whole ferns and 2 whole palm trees. Of course, this set is so massive, and the playmat is really nice, and the mountain sections are really great. So you can kind of put up with the 2 each of the palm trees and ferns for all this other great stuff, you know. So that's a look at the playset as the pteranodon flies back and alights on the cliff. And that is the Marx Giant Prehistoric Mountain Playset number 4304 from 1977, when Marx was owned by a British company named Dunbee-Combex, who went bankrupt not too long after that. Like 3 years after this set came out, they took bankruptcy. But we won't go into all that now. That's for another time. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to put a link to my video I did earlier on the Marx Prehistoric Mountain Playset from 1975. I did not go in depth as much on that one, even though it's really a nicer set than this one is. This one's a lot more scarce, and I went in depth on this video about how the mountain sections connect and the nuts and screws and all that. So, hope you dug it. More dinosaur and monster stuff to come. Goodbye for now.